welcome back to another episode of UFC Underworld Fight Club. Thanks for joining me. Today we'll be having a little talk about Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua on Netflix, happening in Miami, scheduled for December the 19th. And I'm going to reveal some information to everyone that deep down inside we've always known all along. And what that is that these Jake Paul fights, they're not real. It's all an illusion. And I'm gonna prove that to you right now.
From time to time, just stepping through the...
First of all, before it was Anthony Joshua, it was Gervonta Davis that Jake Paul was scheduled to fight. But we found out recently that Gervonta Davis was getting booted from the fight. He was getting kicked out of the fight, and we were given a reason for that. But yesterday, Jake Paul had his pre-fight press conference with Anthony Joshua, and he actually gave us the true reason why Gervonta Davis was no longer going to be a part of the event. Let's take a look at this, and I'll explain what this really means afterwards.
I felt like we were with Gervonta by the end of it, and just, I guess, how that all unraveled.
Yeah, he just represents everything that's wrong with boxing on professionalism. And, you know, he's getting what he's reaping what he sows. But I hate working with people like that. He stands everyone up, film crews, everything. Doesn't do any promotion, doesn't do any posts, but it is what it is. I'm actually glad this all happened this way so that he doesn't get, the biggest paycheck of his life and just continues to be a piece of shit in boxing.
As you can see, Jake Paul just gave a few different reasons why he didn't want to do business with Gervonta Davis. You know, he was showing up late to events, he wasn't promoting the fight, yada yada yada. Basically, what he was telling everyone is that Gervonta Davis wasn't playing ball. He wasn't on board, he wasn't in compliance. And that's very important that he is in compliance, because if he's not in compliance, he could ruin the whole event. But not only ruin the whole event, he could ruin the whole movie that we're watching. He has to play his part. And what is his part? His part is to not win. They couldn't guarantee that Gervonta Davis wasn't gonna do that. Actually, they were pretty sure that he wasn't going to do that. Therefore, he had to go. Now we're gonna go look back at the first fight that Jake Paul had. The fight that he had with Ben Askren. Ben Askren went down after the first punch. And we were all shocked in the beginning. I mean, nobody really expected that to happen. But there was a video clip going around after the fight that showed Ben Askren just walking away from the event and laughing and smiling as if nothing just happened. Is that the way people normally act after they get knocked out? It's not. That's because Ben Askren never got knocked out. Ben Askren played his part because the money was too much for him to pass over. He couldn't say no. So, I'm telling you right now, like I said, we've always known this, but we just never wanted to believe it. Ben Askren threw the fight. Ben Askren faked getting knocked out. Ben Askren went down, he got some money, and he walked away laughing because everybody thought it was real. And this was the beginning. But it wouldn't continue, it wouldn't end there. Next we have Tyron Woodley, who's actually an actor. He's been in at least one movie that I know of. Tyron Woodley shows up to the first fight and he loses on points. But that wasn't convincing enough. We needed Jake Paul to win in exciting and dominating dominating fashion like he did in that Ben Askren fight. So they scheduled a part 2 for Tyron Woodley, but this time Tyron Woodley was paid even more money, this time to go down. And I'm going to undoubtedly prove to you that he took a dive. He never got knocked out. And we're going to take a look at this knockout, quote unquote, first. But then we're going to take a look at what really gives away that it was never a knockout and it was all staged. Take a look at this. Okay, so you saw the knockout. Looks real at first glance. Jake seems to have hit him with a great shot. But when you pay close attention, you see that Woodley intentionally drops his hand. He braces so he sees the punch coming. He turns his head and braces for the punch and rolls with it. And then immediately goes down afterwards. You see him make a face and everything. He saw the fucking punch come. He braced for the shot and he let it happen. That's what just happened. You don't believe me? Now I'm gonna show you the footage of Tyron Woodley basically admitting to this, because he's not that great of an actor and he's not that great of a liar. So let's look at this post-fight press conference footage.
In the UFC, you guys didn't really get a chance to know me. You didn't get to know what I fought for, and that's what I fight for, my kids and my family. You got a chance to know Mama Woodley a little bit more, to see the cloth that I was cut from, and the fighting spirit that possesses inside of me. And I told you guys I was in shape. I told you I was ready to fight. I told you I was coming, and I told you I would look in better shape than he was. And I did that tonight. So I went back and I looked at it. I'm like, why the fuck did I drop my hand? I had both hands up. I was ready. I knew it was coming. I was ready to block overhand, and I don't know if he delayed it. Even if he didn't delay, I don't know why. I'm not done. Please do not look at me with sorrow eyes. Please do not look at me like shaking your head. I done fucked a lot of people up. A lot of people had to have that talk in the locker room. A lot of coaches had to go back to the drawing board. A lot of people in their mind, they knew that they knew that they knew, and I saw it in their face, and it broke their heart when I took that from them. So at some point, we're gonna have to start putting a little respect on Jake's name. I never really disrespect him as a power puncher. That's something we always knew. That's why my defense was so tight. And had he dropped his hand on me, the same shit would have happened.
During that round, before you got knocked out, you were dropping your hand a little bit before the knockout. What was kind of going through your mind there when doing that?
I mean, to be honest, sometimes it's strategy. So I'm not gonna sit here and act like, I was dropping my hands on purpose to fucking let him throw a shot and hit him back. But I'm not gonna sit here and act like, I was dropping my hands on purpose.
As you can see, Tyron Woodley sits here and he's able to recall every single moment that happens up until he supposedly gets knocked out, and even everything after. Now, let me ask you this. Is that typical behavior for a person who gets knocked out in a fight? No. We saw Kamaru Usman get knocked out by Leon Edwards, and to this day, he still can't recall shit that happened up until the knockout. He can't even recall the next 30 minutes after the knockout, really. He didn't really wake up until an hour after. Okay, he didn't come back to his senses until like an hour after that, after he woke up. Even though he got up and everything, he doesn't remember any of that. The same can be said for DC after his fight with John Jones in their second fight when he got knocked out. He doesn't remember anything. He has his team telling him that he kept asking the same question over and over. What happened, bro? How'd I lose? And, he was crying. He didn't remember shit. Up until like an hour after, he starts really remembering. Everything's blurry. So how is it that Tyron Woodley can just sit here and just recall everything that happened up until the knockout as if he never got knocked out? That's because he never was knocked out. He got paid $2 million, I believe, which is the highest amount of money he's ever been paid. He was never going to make that money in any other circumstance because his fighting career is already over. He's out of the UFC. It's just not going to happen. So he had no choice but to take it. And that's why in this post-fight press conference, he has this look of guilt on his face, and he's talking about the reason he does this is for his family, and he's low-key kind of making excuses. And then he even admits, he says verbatim, I didn't just lower my hand and let him punch me. And yes, that's exactly what he did. And he sees everybody looking at him, and the guilt is getting to him. His conscience is getting to him, so he just goes on and on talking, but he came here to do a job. And that is to shine Jake Paul up, get paid the biggest bag he's ever made. And Jake Paul always talks about how these UFC guys don't make money, so why do you think he keeps baiting them out? Because he can't bait out a real boxer to do this shit. But it looks like now he has been able to successfully bait out a real boxer to do this shit. He thought Gervonta Davis was going to be, a guy, but Gervonta Davis was just too much of a fucking gangster to get down with the get down. But Anthony Joshua is not. And there's a reason why they go for Gervonta Davis. Gervonta Davis is coming off of a fight that he technically just lost, and he's on his way out of the game. Gervonta Davis is getting ready to retire. But Jake Paul can offer him the biggest bag he's ever been offered. All he has to do is take a dive. I mean, he's already about to retire anyway. What does it matter? Just take the money. And he did take the money. But they didn't believe that Gervonta Davis was going to follow through with it. And I can tell you that he probably wasn't. He couldn't even remember when the fucking fight was happening. They couldn't depend on him. That's why he got kicked out. Because they couldn't bank on him playing his role. Now they got Anthony Joshua, who's just come off of getting knocked out. He's trying to get this fight with Tyson Fury to, get another championship belt. But who's to say if that will happen? And it may even happen. But still, they can't pass up this opportunity. I think he's getting somewhere to the tune of like $50 to $70 million. Of course he's going to do it. This is the type of money that these guys can't turn down. They're in their late 30s at the end of their career, and they're going to play their role. They're going to make it seem as authentic as they can be all the way up until fight night. And then once again, it'll be a win for Jake Paul. I truly believe the only reason that Tommy Fury was deemed the winner in that fight is because it's the Furies that we're talking about. They have a relationship with these guys in Saudi Arabia. They're not going to just let them lose, Jake Paul didn't know that, hey, if you go fight with these guys are like royalty in boxing. You're fighting a real boxer. You're not going to win against a real boxer, especially a Fury. Because those are boxing royalty and they have the respect, and they're just not going to let you do that. But against these UFC guys, these dudes, man, you're going to win all day because they're there to lose. But because they're getting the biggest bag that they could ever be given. Mike Perry, all these guys, they all took a dive, okay? All of them. Jake Paul is not beating these guys. They're all taking a dive for that bag because it's the biggest bag that they could that they're ever going to get. And Jake Paul is there to offer it to him. He's got the funding of this big, this big corporation that's behind him, funding all these events. He's their guy, and it's a talent agency that represents him, I believe. The same talent agency that represents like Aiden Ross and all these guys. Now, what does that tell you? That tells you that this is all just a big show. None of it's real. And another thing, if this was a real boxing match, for one, why the fuck is it 8 rounds? Why is it never 12 rounds like it should be? Because it's not real, guys. And, sure, they got DraftKings associated with it and all this kind of stuff, but these contracts that they sign, there's some kind of gray area in the contract that allows them to have this predetermined outcome but still not be breaking any laws. And I don't think anybody will ever know exactly what that is because nobody can see it. I'll be damned if they ever let anybody see it, because then the game will be up. But I can tell you for one and for certain that is what's going on, and these aren't real fights. So don't be surprised, come December 19th, if this fight still, manages to go on, Jake Paul will win. And Anthony Joshua will play his role as he should. And it won't be a surprise to anyone, because I'm telling you right now, this is exactly what's supposed to happen. This is exactly what's been happening the whole time. But the only difference is this time he's facing another boxer. And I gotta mention to you, this is all just my common sense telling me what my eyes are seeing. At the same time, I don't know. I will never know. But I can tell you with all the evidence, I mean, I can't sit here and just ignore it. Like, dude, it's all pointing towards one thing. Because here's another thing. Anthony Joshua was the same guy who said, I'm not interested in a gimmick fight. I'm not going to be a part of a gimmick fight. It's not my thing. I'm here to be a world champion. Something to the tune of that. But yet, there he was fighting Francis Ngannou. He got paid to do that. And you want to know why? I'm going to explain things to you right now that you would never have figured out. You want to know why he went out there and, took that fight against Francis Ngannou? Because Saudi Arabia paid him to do it, because Saudi Arabia they're boxing promoters. They have to promote boxing. So how is it going to look that Francis Ngannou went out there and made Tyson Fury look bad? They have to save the bigger fight, which is Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury. That's the real fight. They expected Francis Ngannou to go out there and get his ass kicked by Tyson Fury. You want to know why? Because Turki Al-Sheikh is in the business of boxing. He doesn't promote the UFC. That's why he's in business with Dana White. That's why they did that Canelo fight. Because they're trying to keep the power with boxing. Even though they're pretending to be friends, they're doing favors for each other. Saudi Arabia let Dana White have that Phil Island thing. He saved Dana White. He saved Dana White's business. So now Dana White kind of owes him. So Dana White is kind of like, he's in a way, he is partially owned by Turki Al-Sheikh. He owes them. He let them go set up that island and save his business when he needed it the most. Now Dana owes those favors. And the Saudi Arabians were willing to do that favor for Dana White. Sure, Francis Ngannou can go over there and box and make the money that he wants to make and think everything's going to be peachy, but you are just a chess piece. They're not going to let you get away with that. That's why they immediately booked him right after that with Anthony Joshua, and he got knocked out with it under like 5 minutes. You think that all just happened by chance? No, dude, there's probably things going on that we can't see. They are shipped out to these places like in Saudi Arabia. They stay where they tell them to stay. They eat what is given to them. It's all kind of like an illusion. Things are gonna go the way that they want it to go because there's more money in it this way. There isn't more money in it with you coming over here to boxing and making boxing look weak. No, you're gonna pay for that, and he did. And guess what? Anthony Joshua, now he gets to get his reward for that. His reward is, of course, the money, but now he's owed a favor. And look at this. He just got his ass whooped by Dubois, that guy, that big African-American boxer. But yet, they're trying to set up a mega fight with him and Tyson Fury right now for next year, sometime around February, is what they were saying. They're saying that's what Eddie Hearn's saying, that's the fight they're trying. But how is he eligible for that fight when he just got knocked out by Dubois? It doesn't make sense to me. But he is going to get that opportunity. Turki is working on it because that is his reward, because he went out there and did a favor for boxing. And Turki Al-Sheikh, because he's saving their business now. They got to have all the best boxers. If there's anything to do with boxing and it's a big event, they're the ones putting it on, and that's the way it's going to be. So I hope you can see all of the evidence that I laid out for you today and how I kind of explain things for you, because these dots are not easy to connect, but I've had them connected all along. I don't usually make videos like this, but because I'm making videos about the UFC, and my job is to kind of just remain as a fan. But here's the thing, I don't make these videos because I want to get famous, because I want to get a bunch of views. I don't care about any of that shit. I make these videos because It's simple. I don't have any fucking friends, so I don't have anybody to talk to about this, which is the only thing that I want to talk about. So I make these videos, and every now and then I'll get some cool comments, and that's how we can have a little discussion. Other than that, I could really give a shit about anybody liking the video or agreeing with what I'm saying. All I care about is having healthy, intelligent discourse with interested parties. If you're not, cool. If you are, I'll look for your comments, you know, when you send them. But other than that, this is my opinion. You know, I don't think I'm stupid. I think I'm actually pretty smart, and I think my eyes do not tell me lies. So there you have it. And don't be surprised when Anthony Joshua loses to Jake Paul. It's all in the script. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.